Hi guys. The movie that I chose to watch was The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. This movie is a memoir that shows the point of view Jean Dominique Boubet, I really hope I said that correctly, had after experiencing a stroke at the age of 43, leaving him with locked-in syndrome. Prior to his stroke, Boubet was the editor of the Elle magazine and had a passion for writing. Not only did his career change, but his whole life did, as he was a father, husband, and so much more. His stroke left him with locked-in syndrome, meaning he was completely paralyzed from head to toe except for his left eye, which will come into the story later. Locked-in syndrome took away his ability to live and speak on his own, but not who he was on the inside. On the outside, Boubet seemed like he couldn't do anything. I put air quotes because I don't want to say can't do anything. But on the inside, he could still do everything on his mind. His condition impacted just about every area of the OTPF4 as Boubet's motor skills were drastically impaired. With little to no motor skills, Boubet was able to conquer his condition using his process and social interaction skills, just in a different way than we would normally do. Starting with his ADLs and IADLs and how they changed, since he was completely paralyzed, he required total assistance and could not do independent things like he once did. Even ADLs like dressing, feeding, bathing, and toileting were all done with help and on his own time, but through a much longer process. IADLs were another challenge, as he could not physically do them, but mentally succeeded, with communicating through the blinking code using the alphabet. So, since he was completely paralyzed, the way that he would communicate would be through someone verbally giving him the alphabet going A, B, C, D, and so forth, until he would essentially blink and stop at a letter to form a word or a sentence. You can see how that would take a lot more time than me just verbally saying something, because like now I said all those words in 2 minutes versus for him to say one sentence probably takes 5 minutes to 10 minutes, however much he wants to say. Like most people, rest and sleep in hospitals is sometimes challenging because it's not like home and you don't have the people that you feel most comfortable around. He now had to rely on people to position him and comfort him, and once again it was another longer process because yes, he could blink for the yes or no if like yes, this position is good or not, but his way of communication just took a lot longer of a time. Prior to his stroke, he was an editor and writer, which was not something he could easily get back into because he physically could not do it. While he physically could not do it, though, his mental ability was still intact completely. Nothing was there, nothing was wrong there. So that was a struggle that he had because he still had all these ideas flowing through and his imagination just grew wild, essentially, because he was locked into his body and the only thing that he had to do was imagine and think of things. While he was still able to participate socially through blinking, it was just very different for him. In the beginning, like I said, it was a lot of yes or no questions. So blinking once was yes and blinking twice was no, which gradually became more complex using the blinking code. Communication was a longer and harder process, and he always had to rely on another person to verbally say the alphabet to him for him to kind of communicate back to them. Sometimes people would go too fast or they wouldn't look at him, so they'd miss his response, and when they'd go too fast, he wasn't able to keep up with that and blink when he really wanted to. For Boubet, his way of communication allowed him to express his cognitive ability and emotions. While he physically could not smile, move his mouth, do stuff like that, he could at least form the sentence to say, this is how I feel, or this is what I want, stuff like that. With his new way of communication, Boubet was able to complete this memoir about his experience, which provided him with occupation participation, allowing him to restore his sense of identity. Writing is what allowed him to connect with his past, as that's what he did before, and not be confined within himself now. Alright, take two because I don't know why that cut out. But I just want to add that I think this movie highlights the importance of meaningful occupation, and that it just reminds us that physical limitations may restrict one's movement, but they do not define who a person is and how they can connect to others. All right, that's all.